Born and raised in the U.S. in New York, and been living in India for the last three and a half years. I originally came to India as a Fulbright student, studying and teaching entrepreneurship, and then I joined Google to run our new business development practice for India.
And can I just ask you? Said it's kind of the reverse way of what most people are doing.
Yeah.
What made you do it?
Well, my parents live in the U.S. and I was born there. My uncles, aunts, and grandparents, actually everybody lives in the U.S. And you grew up with the sort of Indian culture in the house, but I never really had a chance to fully experience it. And it was always a dream of mine to come to India and just learn more about the country here and just see what I can do and what kind of impact I can make. And I usually came here to start teaching. I would teach some classes at the IIM, Lucknow, and ISB, and some of the other schools. I would do these entrepreneurship lectures once every 2 weeks. And I was really trying to understand the motivations of students to start companies. And the whole entrepreneurship community is very different in India versus the US. And I was working a little bit with Sam Petroda and the Prime Minister's office to help define policies. What can the Indian government can do to encourage more entrepreneurs?
Can you tell me
in
a little bit
India.
about what you think that's maybe 3 or 4 big items in that arena would be?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problem I think in India we have is that we don't have enough young entrepreneurs who are extremely successful, who can be role models. And the lack of role models, I think, is one of the problems that we have. And when you don't have lack of role models, the whole process of entrepreneurship seems very difficult, and it seems like something that is out of reach. And when it seems out of reach, not only does it seem out of reach for you, it seems out of reach for your whole support structure around you. So you don't have your family support, you don't have your community support to be an entrepreneur. They'll say, no, don't start your own company. I know you're graduating from IIM and you're really smart, but you should go work at Google or Microsoft or some other, McKinsey or something else. And even if you have a great idea, you may not get the support that you need from society. Second is actually because of the way bankruptcy laws here work, there's a lot of economic risk. It's very hard to get money and hard to get funding, and people usually have to put personal capital out, family capital, or somehow you use your house, or these hard assets that are very difficult, which in the U.S. we don't really necessarily have to do. We have personal protection on bankruptcy and things like that, where you have some type of protection. And we have the small SBA, the small medium business association that provides help. You have a lot of government grants. You have you have a supported infrastructure around you, angel investors, and especially you said you were in Silicon Valley. In America, there's not many places outside the valley that have been able to recreate what makes the valley so special. So we saw a lot of these risks and a lot of these issues that India needs to sort of tackle, and I think it's happening. It's starting to happen. Entrepreneurship is starting to become glorified. It's starting to become a respected job path. If you fail, besides the economic risk, you also had this called like a political capital risk. If you're a single person and you're a failed entrepreneur, it's hard for you to get married, for example. You may not be respected within your community. You may have a hard time getting a job. Versus in the U.S., sometimes it's a failure is often seen as a badge of honor. People respect that he tried and he failed triumphantly. He failed, but he did something so big and he tried to change the world. So I think we need to sort of we need to actually respect failure. And we need to encourage that if you fail, it's okay, you just have to try again. So that's the kind of things that we kind of focused on and learned. And I've written some pieces for the Wall Street Journal and the Mint, and I think Times of India about some of the things that I discovered during my research.
I'd love to get a copy of them.
Oh, sure.
Give you a card.
No, absolutely.
Can I ask you one other question? Before you started teaching entrepreneurship, were you an entrepreneur or
Yeah.
were you in the ecosystem? In some
I
way?
was in the ecosystem, both failed and a successful entrepreneur. I went to Carnegie Mellon University. I studied computer science, and the first job offer I was given was it was in 1998. It was with a company called Lycos. It was one of the original search engines. And it was a graduate school project at that time, and I turned it down saying, I don't understand what this Lycos is, and the family pressure of not, the same challenges that entrepreneurs in India face. I wanted to do something that my family and community would be proud of, and I ended up working at an investment bank, Fidelity Investments. I did asset management in Boston for a year. It was miserable. It was something that I didn't enjoy, something I didn't like. And a friend of mine was starting an online greeting card company. He basically invented the whole segment of e-greeting cards. The company was called Blue Mountain Arts, bluemountain.com. And I joined him very, very early in the process. And it was just fascinating to see how we were able to affect so many people. People just started using our greeting cards, and within 2 years, we were the 5th most trafficked website on the internet. We were doing more traffic than Amazon and eBay, and all these companies that today are sort of seem untouchable and sort of seem like you can't compete. How are you going to compete with these big companies? And I was in charge of marketing, and and I didn't know anything about marketing. I'm just graduating college, and I would read David Ogilvy's book at night, and then I'd go to the meetings during the day and pretend I knew what I was doing by reading out loud whatever I remember by rote memorization, and read Kotler and all these kind of things, and just trying to figure things out. But in the end of the day, it was okay because we were doing something new. There were no books about what we were trying to do. It was completely undefined, and there were no rules, and it didn't really make a difference. And I was in charge of something that today it would be called sort of director or something of monetization, when we didn't even know what that meant was. But what we had to do was figure out, we're giving these free greeting cards away, and we have millions of people using them every day, but it was costing us a lot of money. How do we make money off this? How do we sustain and support this business? So we launched 2 sister companies. One was called Prof, which is one of the largest flower companies, online flower companies in the U.S. today. Another company is called Dan's Chocolates, which was a chocolate company. I was in charge of running the chocolate company. And basically the idea was every time you sent a greeting card, whether it was for get well soon, happy birthday, happy anniversary, whatever the occasion was, chocolate and flowers are pretty much useful gifts to follow up on with a free greeting card. And we created our own brands, and we're able to sort of support whatever sales we would get through there. So that was my first entrepreneurship experience.
Once you started the entrepreneurial career, do you mind kind of taking a look at one area that we haven't really covered with other people? Do you feel like you can talk about how to select a founding team, or how the founding team should work together?
Yeah, I think actually that's the most important thing. Selecting the founding team is the most critical team. And unfortunately, I've been struggling with this my whole life. Is there a formula? Is there a way to say this is exactly what the attributes you should look for? I don't have a formula, but I do have some guidelines I can share from my experiences. One is, I want to say, I had a professor at Carnegie Mellon who told me this phrase, and I'll never forget it. He said, ideas come and go, but it's the team that stays forever. And I feel like no matter what idea you start with, it sort of will morph into something else. But if you have the right team, you'll be able to see and change your idea to adapt to whatever problems that you come up with. I feel like one of the principal tenets of a founding team is that you should avoid the people that are similar to you. Make sure people are very different, that you have different skills, and make sure the people that you respect. And friendship should not actually matter. And friendship can sometimes be a hindrance. I have this expression that I always tell everyone when they're starting a company, that if you're all friends, I say, okay, that's great, you're all friends, but can you fire your friend? Can you be impartial and actually do what's best for the business? And if you can't, it's not worth the risk of the friendship. Don't start a company. But if you have the ability to behave so straightforward to your friend and so have a deep bond that if he does something wrong, you can tell him, hey, you can't work here anymore. And you can able to share that with him, whether it's right or wrong, then I think it's okay to start a company with a friend. But if you can't do that, you should never start a company with a friend. That's my